I can understand why, in the middle of the war to end all wars, the US wanted to develop a bomb to end all bombs, and drop 2 of them on the country that bombed us first. I find it harder to understand why, once we dropped 2 atomic bombs and saw how overwhelmingly devastating they were, then we decided to build an even more devastating hydrogen bomb. As far as I can tell, young Edward Teller, while assigned to come up with an implosion device for detonating atomic bombs, simply got distracted by the possibility of a much more powerful bomb than the one that had yet to materialize. It reminds me somehow of how young Henry Ford, whose early investors just wanted him to create a good enough basic car to manufacture and sell, instead got distracted by the idea of developing a race car. It seemed more exciting. Ford was successful with his race car, and Edward Teller got his hydrogen bomb, which obliterated the island atolls of Bikini and Enewetak, whose inhabitants were forced to live somewhere else because of all the radioactivity from the bombs. And as for Henry Ford, after getting famous with his race cars, he then got down to the business of mass-producing cheap, reliable cars that eventually got bigger and faster, which may have as much to do with warming up our atmosphere as anything else we've invented. I remember, as a boy, taking a day cruise on a big boat in the Marshall Islands when the tour guide pointed off in some direction and said that was where the Bikini and Enewetak Islands were. It did not mean much to me then, but it means more to me now, looking back on having lived for 2 years on the island of Kwajalein, where anti-missile missiles were developed and tested against unseen enemies in the sky. I later learned that there was an atomic warhead on the island all the time I was there. And if missiles and atomic bombs were then as fascinating to me as were race cars in somehow similar ways, my feeling now is that none of us should ever be under the control of excited young men wanting to amaze the world with a new technological development, or of older men who fail to grow up in understanding the impact of these developments.